DATV, and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters present Meet the Candidates, your chance to learn about the candidates running for office in the November election.
Hi, I'm Patty Skilkin. I'm president of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton Area, and today we're talking to candidates for the Butler Township trustee position. One candidate will be elected. We have three possibilities here. We're going to start out by giving each candidate 2 minutes to make a statement, an opening statement. You can tell us your qualifications, you can tell us why you want the job, you can tell jokes, you can tell anything you want, but this is your chance to speak to the voters. Joe, we'll start with you, Joe Flanagan.
All right, thank you. First of all, my name is Joe Flanagan, and I'm a candidate for Butler Township trustee. I'd like to give you a little background as far as education goes. I graduated from Chaminade High School in 1970. I graduated from Wright State University in 1975 with a bachelor's degree in urban studies and city planning, and I have a master's degree from Central Michigan University in public administration. As far as after I graduated from college, I began my career at Madison Township as what we would call a lowly zoning inspector. Progressed through the ranks from zoning inspector to code enforcement officer, eventually to the position of planner, community economic development director, and finally finished off my career in 2010 as the Butler Township administrator. Each one of those steps allowed me to gain additional experience on how a township should operate. Now, of my 30 plus years that I have been in public service, over 25 years has been working at the township level. And again, it was, I want to tell you, it was Madison Township, Harrison Township, and then Butler Township. Working for small units of government, which I've always had to do, is you have to wear multiple hats. You have to be able to do many things because there just isn't the staffing. No one ever wants to hear, that's not my job. The job is to get the job done. At one point at Butler Township, I was the administrator, the service director, the zoning administrator, the code enforcement officer, and the service director. From that, I learned valuable information on how Butler Township not only runs, but how Butler Township should run. And with that experience, I'm looking for your vote on November 3rd.
Thank you, Joe. Our next candidate is Doug Orange. Doug, it's your turn. 2 minutes to speak to the voters.
Thank you. My name is Doug Orange, and I'm currently concluding my 20th year as a Butler Township trustee. I'm a lifelong resident of the Vandalia Butler community and graduate of Vandalia Butler High School. I have a bachelor's degree in business from Capital University, and I currently work as a high school business teacher at Brookville High School, teaching a comprehensive series of classes such as accounting, finance, marketing, management, those types of classes. Prior to my 20 years of service as a trustee, I also worked as a member of the Butler Township Zoning Commission for several years. My full-time job over the years prior to teaching was in the business world and as a small business owner. Being deeply embedded into the Vandalia Butler community, it's been my pleasure and honor to serve as a Butler Township trustee, and would like to serve for 4 more years. We have a lot of things that are currently ongoing in the township that I think I can contribute to in a positive manner, and I look forward to your vote on November 3rd, and I thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Our last candidate is Tom Zeigler. Tom, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Tom Zeigler. I'm a 2-year resident of Butler Township. I currently work at Apex Aluminum Die Casting up in Pickaway as an inside sales engineer. I have one grown son, and I'm originally from Troy, Ohio. That's where my family still is. My son lives there, and we're looking to become a candidate or become a trustee at the November election.
Thank you, Tom. All right, now we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of our conversation. Doug, we're going to start with you this time. What do you think the residents of Butler Township are the most concerned about today?
Well, you know, I think, and I've said this many times over my years as trustee, The three main things that I think residents are concerned about are police service. They want to make sure that if there is a need for law enforcement, that it is quick in response to their needs. Fire service, fire, EMS, ambulance in the case of an accident or an illness, and roads. They want to make sure the roads are free of potholes and the snow is removed in a timely manner. There certainly are a lot of other things that go along with government in a township such as Butler, but I don't think you can lose track of the fact that the three things they're concerned about are the services, police, fire, and roads.
The basics.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Tom, same question to you. You have 2 minutes. What do you think they're most concerned about?
I think the residents are most concerned about the annexation by the City of Union on the township land, and also about the joint merger that the county and the City of Dayton is in the process of. The second thing I believe that they are, or the biggest concern is the development on Miller Lane, how to improve the development on the north side, but retain the high quality of businesses they have on the south side of the Miller Lane. And the third thing, I think, as Doug alluded to, is the ongoing police and high quality police and fire protection we currently have, and improving upon that.
Thank you. Joe, it's your turn. 2 minutes.
Well, I have to tell you, I agree with the idea of the service. I mean, when you take everything out of what government does, especially a township, it is providing services to the residents, which is the major thing or why we exist. One of the issues that I've heard is the lack of police presence in neighborhoods. People feel that there's too much emphasis on Miller Lane. I believe that a lot of the issues on Miller Lane is pure rhetoric. It's not necessarily as damaging as you actually think. But there are problems with police services in the township. We talk about services, and the service department has been cut from 6 to 3 full-time employees. I know when I was the administrator, when we had a major snowstorm, even with 6 employees, it was very difficult to get out, get those streets plowed, get them salted, and keep them that way. So as far as issues that I have heard about out campaigning, it's the police services in the neighborhoods. There's concern over the budget and the dwindling budget and how that's going to affect overall services in the long term. And again, I think all of that wraps into some issues which are not even known yet. Like people haven't gone through this winter yet, so they won't know what the impact is going to be until springtime.
Thank you. Tom, we're going to start with you this time. What's your number one priority? What would be your pet project, assuming you're elected? What's the issue that keeps you awake at night?
I think the main issue that keeps us awake is, like I said, is the impending annexation by the City of Union into the township. We've lost almost 2,000 acres to the City of Union in the past 2 years in an area where I live at, and it's the business plan seems like haphazard on the way that they're building, where they start in the middle of a cornfield and work their way back to a town. It's not the proper way to do business, especially when we have so many acres of land that's going unused and unfilled, where we could either negotiate a deal with the City of Vandalia to utilize where the old GM plant used to be, and there's other areas also. There's 650 acres on the west side of the airport, which is a much better location for business than where they currently have the P&G building at. But I think with negotiating and trying to restructure from a service industry back to a manufacturing based economy would greatly help the township and the surrounding communities also.
Thank you. Let me see who's next. Joe.
I'd like to. It's not one of my issues, but I'd like to touch on the annexation just for a moment and say that when I was the administrator and Doug as a trustee, we fought every annexation battle that there was. We spent many thousands of dollars and lots of time trying to stop annexations. And the way the current state law is written, they cannot be stopped. It is simply that. It is that simple, actually. I mean, when it comes to that, I hate saying that, but there's simply no way. If you want to stop annexations, then the state legislature has to change the laws. They have to be lobbied and somehow change the laws, but that's simply not going to happen. With that said, real quickly, My number one priority, actually I have two priorities and they kind of go hand in hand. One is the budget, the township budget, which I said is dwindling at this part, even with the JED Z, which is producing only half of the amount of money that they indicated it was going to produce. And with that is economic development. And again, I agree with Tom that one of the things we really need to look at is the development north of Maxton Road, which is basically nothing has happened. To do that, Little York Road needs to be improved. The area up there needs to be addressed as far as to make it look attractive to encourage development and redevelopment in that area. It's only through economic development that we're going to be able to lift and provide additional services to the residents of the taxpayer and maintain existing services without going to them for additional funds.
Thank you. Doug, same question. Do you have a pet project?
Well, I have a couple pet projects, and to kind of touch base on what Tom and Joe was saying, you know, Joe is correct with annexation. It's unfortunately the laws are stacked in the favor of cities as it currently is in the state of Ohio. In fact, this evening I have a meeting with the number 2 man in the Ohio legislature to try to begin to draft some possible legislation to change. Am I optimistic about that occurring? No. But at least it's the only avenue that we have currently to address the annexation issue that all townships in Ohio are faced, not just Butler Township. With regards to our budget, that is one of the big issues that I think all local government entities are facing, whether you're a township, a city, or a school district. You know, the state has decided to balance their budget on the backs of local government. And we've certainly had a lot of cuts in Butler Township to approximately average about $300,000 per year in the last 5 years. And with that, we've not had any tax increase in the township for the last decade. So it certainly is a challenge, and that's probably the number one project that I have to address, is how to continue offering the quality services that our residents have come to expect and we've been able to provide with our cutbacks in our budget. And as Joe related to economic development, that certainly is one of the things, because you have to balance economic development and business with the effect that might have on residents. But you know, the way townships are funded, you know, you either get taxes from the residents or you get taxes from the businesses. Those are your two main sources. So as far as the North Miller Lane area, we just concluded an agreement with Montgomery County to widen Little York Road, which is a project we've been working on for the last several years from I-75 to North Dixie, and that will certainly be a major factor in improvements of the North Miller Lane area for future development.
Thank you. We're going to go off the script here a little bit. I'm famous for doing that. You've all three mentioned the possibility of annexation and concerns. There's a lot of talk in the paper and in the press about county and city mergers, annexations. Is there any, and I'm going to start with you, Joe, on this one.
Okay.
Is there any benefit at all to your area from any annexation, merger, anything of that sort, or are you best served by remaining independent?
Well, one of the things I always like to say when it comes to things like that is never say never, but not right now. The fact is that a lot of people in this community identify themselves with where they live, whether it's Butler Township or Englewood or Centerville or whatever. There's a lot of thriving communities out there. That said, we should always be looking at ways that we can work cooperatively to get things accomplished. When I was the administrator, again, and Doug as trustee, we did an agreement with the city of Vandalia to share fire services. We did JEDs with the city of Dayton and the city of Vandalia, where we share income tax base in those areas. You know, the sheriff's office patrols for Harrison Township and Washington Township. We did the Wellfield Protection Plan with a number of jurisdictions in the area. So, short of actually merging into one unit, I do believe there's a lot of areas where we can share resources, improve services, and reduce costs without a total merge into one unit of government. Sometimes bigger is not better.
Thank you. Doug, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, the unfortunately, the parties that have been advocating for the Dayton-Montgomery County merger have not shared their thoughts and ideas with Butler Township. What I've heard secondhand, I really don't see a benefit to Butler Township to a merger at this time. It has worked in some areas. Number one area probably that they'd like to tout would be the Louisville, Kentucky area. But I think that local government and township government is the government that's closest to the people. And I think they have a better handle on what it is that's important to the residents, what needs to be addressed. And sometimes when you broaden out, you lose that feel and that being in touch with your residents. So at this time, I don't see any benefit to a merger at that level for Butler Township.
Okay. Tom, what do you think? You've got 2 minutes to tell us.
I don't think the merger between the city of Dayton and Montgomery County is a good idea. I think the residents moved to Butler Township or have lived there and haven't moved out to the sole fact that it is a township. It is limited government oversight on their part. They like the freedoms that they have that they can't have inside of a city limits. I don't think that by merging into one governmental unit, it's going to do the township any good. In fact, I think it's going to be a hindrance upon the township instead of doing have any positive outcomes on it.
Thank you. Doug, I'm going to start with you this time. What unique skill set do you bring to the party, either experience, education, or just something you're good at?
Well, I think probably experience is the number one issue and positive attribute that I bring to Butler Township. Having first been elected in 1995, I've seen the township grow in the last 20 years from a very small, almost backward government entity to an entity that's very professional, very respected in the community. And I am familiar with all the parties involved, both on a local government level as well as a state government level. I think that the skill set that I bring is being able to manage people and deal with people and try to, as Mr. Flanagan mentioned, to get the job done. There's challenges, there's been challenges, and I've seen the Miller Lane district grow from a virtual cornfield to where it's at today, and I look forward to continuing that growth going forward, and I think I'm the right person for that job.
Thank you. Tom, let's hear yours.
I've only lived in the township for 2 years, but during that 2 years, I believe I've been tenacious and trying to. There's two main objects that we've had to deal with. One is, like I said, is the annexation of this from the city of Union, building the Procter & Gamble distribution center, and how that came about. And the second one was put on by the Montgomery County TID, and it was to extend the rail from the main line around the old GM building and across to the airport. We've opposed both ideas, especially the rail, as so far that there has not been a single government entity that said, hey, if we extend this rail, that there's going to be any businesses that are either interested or manufacturing operations that could actually use it. We thought, for $50 million, the money can be well spent on much better things for the community, and not just provide, corporate benefits, for a rail which they don't have to pay for, but the residents do. And the second thing, we've been active in trying to get the Procter & Gamble facility to be a better neighbor than they have been when they first moved in. My girlfriend and I have about 100 people on an email stream. We've been going back and forth with P&G, some of the Montgomery County officials and other government agencies on trying to get them to be better neighbors and more cognizant of the fact that we're residents, but we want to have better safety and not as much light pollution, noise pollution, and some of the stuff that's come out of it.
Thank you. Joe, tell us about your talents.
Well, first of all, I mentioned the education and experience in the opening remarks. I won't be redundant and repeat those. But when I got to Butler Township in 1999, the Benchwood Weiss interchange was under construction. At that time, there were a few businesses out there, a couple of hotels, and that was it. Over my 10 years, I managed $120 million worth of construction that happened in that area. We put in place, well, first of all, we developed a master plan for the area. That master plan showed where we were going to put in roads, how we were going to put in infrastructure, how the development was going to happen. I went to the administrator at the time and asked her, the zoning administrator, I should say, at the time, and asked her what regulations they had as far as design criteria, landscaping, building signs, and they said they had absolutely none of that. We developed all of those things. Miller Lane doesn't look like Miller Lane just because it happened to look that way. Miller Lane looks the way Miller Lane is because we put regulations into place to make sure that those regulations were in place. I don't want to diminish the importance of being an elected official, but it is at my level is where we actually develop those things. Those then went to the trustees for approval. But along with doing those, I also developed the Joint Economic Development District with Dayton and City of Vandalia. Developed the community or I can't remember what it is. The TIF, the Taxing with Financing Districts, which basically pays for most of the work that is currently being done as far as facade improvements in the township. My biggest problem right now is the township has done nothing in the last 6 years to do anything to encourage additional economic development. It's all been about signs and let's make the township look pretty in the sense of branding the township. What I bring is true experience on actually getting the work done, all the way from getting the bare bones of the development all the way through the end product.
Thank you. We're going to now give each candidate a chance to speak directly to the voters. You can cover things that I missed, probably a lot of things, or you can correct things that you feel were misrepresented. Tom, I'm going to start with you. You have 2 minutes to speak directly to the voters.
Again, my name's Tom Zeigler. Like I said, I have only been a 2-year resident of the township, but I believe that in that 2 years I've done as much, if not more, than many other people in trying to preserve the way the township is. I don't want to see it, go down the hill so far that it's going to turn into something that nobody wants to live in, where we can't get any economic progress to it, or that new companies will come in to help improve the area. Yes, I'm looking forward to your vote on November 3rd.
Thank you. Joe, you want to talk to the voters?
Yes, I do. One of the reasons I'm running is because I believe the township has been going in the wrong direction for several years now. As I indicated before, I'm not sure exactly when it started, but they are going through this branding process, and it's all where you look at the street signs with the logos on it, entrance signs. I'm not going to dwell on all that. What I believe is the township needs to go back to where we were a number of years ago, where we look at infrastructure improvements that actually are put in the ground that encourage economic development. Economic development doesn't just happen. I mean, a lot of people may think that the land is there and it happens. It simply does not happen. You have to prepare the land and be ready for when economic development is going to hit. Without an economic development, services are going to continue to diminish, or taxes are going to have to be increased. There's simply no other way to do it. You have to have a certain amount of money coming in, like you do your household, like if you're running a business, to provide the end product and service that you want to do. Doug said our basic job is to provide service to the residents, and that's some place where they're actually failing at now. And when you look at service delivery, it is diminishing all the time, and that is simply because they focused on the branding of the township and not putting infrastructure improvements in the township and encourage that economic development. We've always kept our economic development in the Miller Lane area, and that was done on purpose. It was done to keep traffic off of the streets that surround, they go out into the area. My goal is to continue that economic development in the Miller Lane area, to improve development in the Miller Lane area. And I can only do that if you vote for me on November 3rd.
Thank you. Doug, it's your turn. 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the League for having us here today to discuss that, and I want to thank the residents of Butler Township for your support and confidence in me in my last 5 terms here as a Butler Township trustee, and I look forward to serving 4 more years in service for you. we have a lot of things that we need to address in the township, and we've touched on a few of them today, from budgetary issues to annexation to economic development to services. And I think that having been here for 20 years, I have my finger on the pulse of what's occurring in Butler Township. I've dealt with all of these issues in the past, and I personally believe Butler Township is the greatest place to live in Montgomery County. You know, our services, I believe, are second to none. We have some things that we have to do, such as reorganization of our service department due to the loss of a couple people from retirement and disability, and we're in the process of doing that. We have some issues with regards to economic development to try to increase our business tax base. We are working in that direction. So in closing, I want to thank the residents of Butler Township for your confidence over the years, and I look forward to serving you for 4 more years.
Thank you. We've been talking to 3 candidates for 1 opening in the Butler Township Trustee. I want to remind all the voters to vote November 3rd. It's a right, it's a privilege, and in my opinion, it's a duty. The League of Women Voters famous voters guide, and it is famous, I see people using it all the time walking into the booth, will be available the week of October 5th. You'll find it at libraries and about a bazillion other places. If you can't get your hands on one, call the League office. We'll make sure you get one. That number is 228-4041. Also, the League of Women Voters does maintain a hotline starting a couple weeks before Election Day. If you've got questions about your polling place or any identification that may be necessary, call us. We almost always have all the answers. Again, that number is 228-4041. And if you want to check out our website, it's lwvdayton.org. Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
And thank you.